Hey guys, welcome to Elder Gal. I'm Allison, and we're going to have a chat. And it's going to be about, when things don't work out the way you want them to work out, and how do we deal with that in life? How do we cope with that? Because a lot of times you try to force something to happen, but it's just not working out. Things just don't fall into place. I know that one of the things I've learned from all my decades of life is that when things are not supposed to work out in a certain way, the pieces just don't fall together. And the reason I'm talking about that today is it's timely for what I'm going through right now. I shared on my live stream that I'd gone to a city to try to find an apartment and last week, and I thought I had found one that I really liked. And I had kind of a bad feeling about it. I have very good intuition. I have very strong intuition. It usually kind of knows if something's not going to work out. Well, it turns out in the application process for this that they didn't know how to calculate my income from YouTube, basically, because I haven't gotten a 1099 form yet. I've only been getting income for 4 or 5 months, so I don't have like an actual 1099 form to show them, or my tax return, because I haven't done a tax return yet. So that's the kind of thing where I kind of knew when I talked to the person there last week, she was like, well, we've never had something like this before. And some places are trickier than others. Some places would have just taken my bank statements and saw that I had income from Google AdSense, and they would have counted that. But this place, because it's a income restricted place, they have to go through a lot more hoops. So I don't blame them for this. It's just there's a lot more red tape and bureaucracy involved when you're trying to do this. So therefore, I sent her like my scanned information. I did like a test application basically, and they like to review that to make sure you don't have any adjustments to make. And when she did that, she said, well, we can't take your bank statements, because I had included my bank statements with that. She said, we really need like a 1099 or an actual like profit loss form or whatever. And I said, well, I don't have that. I won't have that till January, and I won't have my tax return done until January or February. So I basically told them, don't worry about it. I'll apply in January if I'm still interested, and, that kind of thing. So I wasn't mad about it. In fact, I was kind of relieved, which also tells me that's my intuition telling me that, that probably wasn't what you needed to do. So I guess that's the lesson that I take from something like this. When something doesn't fall into place, when it doesn't happen easily, usually there's a little message in that. There's something that's saying maybe this isn't the way to go. Maybe this isn't for you. And that's how I interpret it. Now, you can interpret it however you want to when something like that happens in your life. The way I interpret it usually is that probably wasn't the way I was supposed to go. They always say that if something doesn't happen for you in life, you probably weren't meant to have it. You probably weren't meant to experience that. And so that's my takeaway from this that just happened yesterday. But where I'm at now, where I've been thrown back to, is I don't honestly know. I know one thing. I know I want to leave where I'm at. And I know that I will do that sometime in the next couple of months, hopefully. But I don't have an actual plan of where I'm going and exactly what I'm doing yet. I have options. I did a whole spreadsheet thing on Sunday. I really did. I mapped out like, what if I did this? And what if I went here? And what if I, and including even going over to Europe sooner rather than later. I mean, I mapped all that out on the spreadsheet. And I basically looked at like, what would it cost? What are the pros and cons? And I encourage you to do that sometimes when you're trying to make a big decision like this. Do a pros and cons list. Basically look at like what's the cost differential between going a certain way and another way. And I did all that, and nothing jumped off the page to me. Nothing just said like, this is the way you want to go. So I'm left with making big decisions and not having a clear answer. And that always tells me to just take a breath, take a bunch of deep breaths and wait a bit, wait a few days, and then kind of revisit it. There's so many moving parts to this situation. There's things that there's things I don't want to go into on the videos about this at this point in time. I might eventually, but there's a lot of things that are involved in this whole scenario of moving or relocating or whatever it is. There's a lot involved. And so this thing keeps drifting down. I'm sorry. Anyway. And so there's a lot involved with this. And the only thing I know for sure is I really want to be out of where I'm at. And maybe the universe doesn't want me out from where I'm at right now. And it's conspiring to keep me here. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the deal. I hope not. I hope not. And I hope that things will fall. Because I think when you choose the right path for yourself, things tend to fall into place. When you tend to do what you should be doing in life, I think things fall into place. And so I'm hopeful for that. But I just wanted to share with you that it's frustrating. It's frustrating, and I feel a bit overwhelmed. I talked about this a little bit on my live stream this past Saturday, or be like, by the time you see this video, it'll be like a week and a half before this. I talked about it a little bit, but I really am struggling. I'm really struggling emotionally. I'm a person that likes to make things happen. When I have a plan in my head, when I have an idea for something, like when I started my YouTube channel, it's like, I started before I was ready, which is what they kind of tell you to do. And I agree with that. You start before you're ready. If you make a few awful videos, then you make a few awful videos. You can always delete them later. But I believe that if you really want something, you have to fight for it. You have to go for it. And so that part of me is struggling with the other part of me that also knows that sometimes you have to stand back, get a different perspective, and really know really get a feel for what you're doing. And so if any of you out there are struggling with a big decision yourself, or you have in the past, or you expect to in the future, you're going to probably understand what I'm talking about. That sometimes things just don't fall into place. And you've got to be okay with that. And I'm doing everything I can to be okay with that. And it goes against every fiber of my being sometimes. It really does. But it's part of living. It's part of the process. And I know that the right thing will reveal itself when it's supposed to happen. And I'm hoping that won't be too long from now, like a month or two, maybe 3 months at most. But in the meantime, I'm going to do what I already have been working on doing. If you saw my video last week, you saw me doing decluttering and sorting. I'm selling some stuff. I'm basically doing, because no matter what I do, when I leave here, I want to have very little stuff, probably no furniture, minimal amount of stuff that I might put into a temporary 5x5 storage unit. And the rest of it, either I just take with me if I go overseas, or if for some reason I have a vehicle, I take it with me in that. I don't know. I just know that the stuff has to go. That's the only thing I'm clear about, that I really know that is true. Because when I mapped out all these things on the spreadsheet, basically it's that you got to get rid of the stuff. Whether you go live in another city somewhere, whether you travel around for a bit, whether you go overseas, no matter which of these paths I take, I can't have a bunch of stuff hanging around my neck. That's the only thing I know for sure. And I'm cool with that. I'm okay with that, because I was telling my best friend on the phone this morning that, the nice thing about where I'm at in life right now is that, 20, 30 years ago, I still even had furniture that had sentimental value because it belonged to my mother or my grandmother or something like that. That's all gone now. That's been gone for quite a while. So the only furniture I have doesn't have any sentimental value to me, doesn't have any meaning to me. Doesn't matter if I get rid of it. Any place I go, they have stuff I can buy. And stuff, because you can buy stuff on Amazon or IKEA or whatever, it's fairly cheap. So it doesn't really matter. That's the good part. I don't have any connection and attachment to things like I used to, as much as I used to. It's very little that I have any kind of an emotional attachment to. And you've seen some of that on my videos before. So anyway, this is a process. This is a process. And I'm taking you along with me on this. You're in it. We're all in it. And I know it's going to work out. You know, things work out the way they're supposed to work out. It will work out. It may not work out the way I want it to on, you know, trial number 1 or 2 or 3. In other words, I might try 2 or 3 different things. And, you know, for instance, I was looking at an apartment online in another place, not the place I was going to go, but another place. And I fell in love with this building and this apartment, and I thought that'd be really great. And then when I went on there to see about what I have to do to qualify and apply and whatever, it's just a little bit out of my reach. The actual rent is doable, but they want you to have like 3 times the rent. And I have more than 2 times the rent probably, but I don't have 3 times, so I wouldn't qualify. So I had to let that go. That's an example of when you're doing all your research and stuff, there's some things that you go, oh, I'd love that, but it's just not for you. It's not going to work out. And, so I hope you can tell that my mood is okay about this. I mean, I'm a little bit chastened, I would say is the word. I'm a little bit humbled by the situation and the magnitude of all the things that I'm dealing with, and the fact that nothing is happening easily, but I didn't really expect it to. You know, let me share for you one other thing on this video, and that is that back before I ever started a YouTube video, I actually did. I'm big into doing handmade spreadsheets. It's weird. It's not just numbers on them. It actually is like pros and cons and numbers and everything. But I'm really into those. I'm very much a nerd about stuff like that. Well, back about 2.5 years ago, before I actually started this channel, I actually mapped out what I would need to make to compensate for the benefits I would be losing and the increased rent I would have to pay and all of that. And I had a number, you know, there was a number in my head, and I thought, oh man, I've got to get to that number, or how am I even going to do this? And I knew that going in. I knew that if I ever made money on the channel, that was going to happen. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what's happened. And that's what I mean. I don't really, in a way, have a choice. I have to change some things because my income has changed, and that has forced other things to change. So even if I didn't move out of here, I would still be paying more rent. I would still be having to change my medical. I would still be doing all these things. And so that's what makes it complicated. You know, when you do something just because, oh, I want to do that, I want to try that new thing, that's one thing. But when circumstance forces you to make changes, then you're trying to make the most positive changes you can. So I'm I'm pedaling as fast as I can here, guys. I really am. I'm pedaling as fast as I can. I am trying to figure this out. And of course, stay tuned. I will be sharing a lot of it with you, whether it's through a normal video or through my live streams. If you tune into those, I hope you do. I'll be sharing all the ins and outs of this as it happens. It's quite the journey. But you know what? What's interesting is there's part of me that's really stressed, and there's part of me that really enjoys this. I enjoy change, strangely, like I just do. There's a part of me that I know it's the lifeblood of us all, is to go through change. And because I've had so many changes in my life, I've learned to embrace it on some level. Not every fiber of my being, but mostly I embrace it. And it's invigorating to think about change, because, you know, when you have the same life every single day and you're living that for years and years and years, even if you love it, you still get kind of in a rut. And what change forces us to do is get out of that rut. And so there's something always very exciting about that. There's always something exhilarating about that. And that's the part I'm really into right now. As uncertain as it is, as chaotic as it is, I'm doing this video just literally on the fly. I had no notes, no anything. I knew I wanted to talk about this. I didn't know how I was going to talk about it, but this is how it's coming out. So you'll stay tuned. You'll figure it out with me. I'll figure it out, and obviously I'll be telling you what happened. So until next time, be well, be kind, keep moving forward, and take care of yourselves. Bye.